Yes, hello and welcome to this session. My name is Engineer Manyang, and in this session, which is part 5 of 5, is a conclusion of what we did in HTML. And what I have for you today is just a conclusion of HTML as I introduce CSS. CSS is a cascading style sheet that we normally use, or is a styling pattern that we normally use to style HTML. Basically, HTML, I can say it's in its raw form. It's yes, it's orderly, but it's not that impressive. So we do style it using CSS. And just to conclude in HTML, I want to introduce also CSS in one of the attributes called style. So today I want to focus much on the style attribute, which will give us a glimpse of what CSS is all about. So if you can see my screen, I have HTML text here, Adam HTML text here, which is the quick brown fox. I jumped over the lazy dog. So I have this also, and this is my working space. And I can just copy several of them so that we use the style attribute to style it uh, so that you can understand what styling is. So I said that I want to focus much on one attribute which is called the style, and style is normally used for inline styling. So when we come here and do write style, then we can write any CSS style inside this style attribute. So from here we can write all the styles we need from here. So what we'll do, I'll just give these. Let me just refresh so that we are on the same page. Let me just refresh so we have them. So we just want to style this text, so that we can see how the style attribute works, so that even if I move to previous CSS, then you can understand what's happening. So after writing style attribute, the easiest style that I want to introduce is called color. Color. Style color. Color is normally used for giving these text colors. So when I say color, then colon, then I say the color I need, let me say, is red. I give red, then I give that, which is a semicolon. So any CSS style must end in a semicolon. Uh, but if it's close, it's a thumb rule that any CSS style must end, or CSS uh, code must end in a semicolon. So we can check. So what we mean by color red is that it will change the color of anything under the body tag. So if you style the body tag, then that style is going to affect everything we have under the body tag. So when we say color red, note that any text under the body tag will be affected. And when we do this and check by refreshing the page, then you can see the color change to red. Then another one we can do is that we can change maybe the background color. If even if you are a beginner, you can be led by your text editor. So when I just type background color, then you can see is a property. We call that a property, and it gives me, we call it Intellisense. That when I start typing, then you can see the options. It's giving me the option to choose from. So if your text editor supports Intellisense, then it can be an advantage to you. So color red, background color, check. We normally separate two properties. If two words that make up two words, we normally separate them with an hyphen. So background color, and I can call it background color black. I can call it background color black and give a semicolon. So when I give the semicolon, then it shows that that's the end of that code. So if I do refresh, then you can see the background color is black. Then I can come back here and I can say, let me return it to white. Let me have it background color black. Then I need the color of the text to be white for easy visibility. Yeah, to be white for easy visibility. Then when I come here and I refresh, then you can see the color change to white. Another thing we can do under the body, we can create a border. Uh, we can enclose all this text under a div. So I can just come here and enclose all this text under a div. I won't explain what div is because I think I've talked or I've explained so much of it in the previous tutorial. So I can have this under a div, and if I have that in a div, then here under this div I can have style. So this style, I can say that, note that I told you that if we have a div enclosing these paragraphs, then a style applied to a div will be applied to all you see here. So we normally have order of priority, and the order of priority is that uh, inline styling, uh, you find that this styling, when I was styling the whole body, then it narrowed down to a div, which is hosting this paragraph. And then let me say that I have a style that I have applied to paragraph. You find that a style applied to paragraph will override a style applied to the same style applied to the div, which is the container. So this paragraph, you can find that I've given this body a color of white, but when I come to this div and say color green, it will change the color. Color green, color green, and I give a semicolon and I refresh. I've said that this green will override white because you find that this is more specific as compared to body. So if I just refresh, then you can see it's changed to green. Yeah. So let me return it back to white so that uh, uh, we can have a visible color. So what I want to do in this div, I want to give another style which is called margin. So I want to give it a margin of 2 pixel. I want to give it of 2 pixel all round. So if I say margin 2 pixel, I'll explain what a margin is, and I'll give a further detailed explanation if I'll be discussing CSS, and I'll explain most of the CSS properties. So this in HTML, style is an attribute, but color is a property, and background is a property, margin is a property, style is an attribute. When you go to CSS, then we'll only have properties. We don't have attributes in CSS. In pure CSS, we only have properties. So style margin 2 pixel, then I want to give it a margin 2 pixel solid. Uh, this how we write margin 2 pixel solid white, or let me say solid red. You can also write a style like that, margin 2 pixel solid red. Then I'll come and if I refresh, then uh, I have my margin applied, but you can't see it very easily. Let me just come back and check margin. Sorry, I have a margin of 2 pixel. Sorry about that. And another thing for so that you can easily notice it, after giving a semicolon, I can give another style, that border. I can say border. Yes, if I can say border, border is general, because I can imagine, just to go back, imagine I can differentiate the margin or give the different uh, properties. I can say margin top. Margin top is margin top is the space on top, margin bottom, margin left, and margin right. Border, I can also have border right, border top, border bottom, and border left, right, top, and bottom. So when I say border, that if I don't specify, then it's going to give all borders, both top, bottom, left, and right. So border is just means that I need a border over all these text, and that's border. I need it to be 2 pixel. Pixel is a measurement. Solid red, and I give a semicolon. So when I say a border of 2 pixels solid red, and I come here and do that, then you can see my border of 2 pixel solid red. So I want to explain elements. Uh, this is definition of terms, and the terms I'm coming up with. The first term was an attribute, the second term was a property, and the third term is an element. So if you can see my box, everything we have inside the box are elements. All these are elements, and if we can only have one, we don't need the three of them. But for easy explanation and easy clarification, then I think three can do. So this text, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, is an element. The space around an element is normally called padding. The space around an element is normally called padding. So if I come here and say that I need a padding, you can see a padding to bottom, padding top, right and left. But if I say padding, then it's going to give both, it's going to apply that uniform. It's going to be uniform in all dimensions, both right, left, top and bottom. But if I want to specify if it's a top, then I used to use the top padding top. So I'll only use this padding which is padding all. Then I can say I need it a padding of 20 pixel for easy visibility, 20 pixel solid, sorry, in 20 pixel, we only have it as 20 pixel, then we have a semicolon. So when I do refresh, let me just come here. When I come here and refresh, now you can see that this space have increased. So a padding is normally a space around an element. So this space we have here, if we have it as padding 0 or we don't specify, then this line will move close to our element. But if we want a space around this element, then we do say padding 0. Let me say that I need to move this uh, I need to move this text in the center, which by the end of this session we must do that, moving this or centering this element. So I've said that the space between this element is padding. If you check this box, then we normally this the space immediately, yes, the space immediately outside the border. We have three terms. We have padding, we have border, and we have margin. Padding is the space around, immediately around an element. So if we have the quick brown fox, this quick brown fox, any space you can see around it like this, that's the padding. Then after the space around it, we have the border. Yes, so this is the border of the element. So the border can touch the element directly or at a close range. So if we don't want the border to touch the claim element as a close range, then we normally give it a padding. Yes. So we have another one, which is a margin. A margin is the space outside a border. So this is a border. The border was here, but we moved it at least to leave some space by giving a padding. Then outside the border we have a margin. So if you can check on top, when you have a line here where our body or our page starts from, leave alone the white one, now our black page, if you can see there's a space, then the border starts. So that's the margin. So if you want to see the effect of the margin on top here, though our margin specification will be all round. So I'll just come here and say change this margin maybe to 12 pixel so that you can have a noticeable change. So when I have it at 12 as 12 pixel, then you can see a margin all round is left. So you can see these have moved inward, these have moved inward, these have moved inward. And also if we had an element, if you add an element, maybe some element here, then would have seen it's being moved down so that we have to create some space. So I think up to that point I've explained what a padding, a border, and a margin is. A padding, the space directly directly around an element, while a border can touch an element directly, is all round. A border is normally all round. Yes, padding is also all round, margin is also all round. But we can normally specify which one we want to change. So if we need this element, or if we need this quick brown fox to start from here, then we can give it a padding left. Yeah, this left. This is a padding top, padding bottom, padding left, padding right. So if we need this to move inside, then we give a padding a large unit or a big unit of padding left. So we can say padding left of maybe 20 20 pixel. If we need a smaller one, we can say 5 pixel or 10 pixel can do. And we don't write it in full, we shorten it as px, which means pixel. And I'll explain more other units of measurement that we normally have in CSS, such as the EM, the VH, we have the REM. Yes, so I'll explain much when we'll have now a discussion or a session which is entirely CSS. So you can see I have a border and a padding of 20 pixel. Here I can also control the width of this element. If I want to control the width of this element inside the container, now this we have in a red box is a container. So inside this container, by default, the width is normally 100%. Yes, so the width is 100%, but in pixel is undefined. In EM is undefined, or in VW, or which is vertical width, is undefined. But in percentage, it's 100%. So I can say that I want this container width to be only 60%. So it does not take 100%. So let me say I want it to be 70%. So I'll just come here, and this container, I'll come and write width is equals to let me get it 70%. So when I have it at 70%, it means that it will take 70% of the container. So when I refresh, I expect the size to reduce. So you can see the size is reduced. So it has taken 70% of the page, or of the 70% of the page. Now you can see that now you can notice that not everything is automated, and here it's your own role, so that you can set things the way you want them to be. You expected that if I did reduce this width, then it will automatically center. That's not the case. So even if you want to center this red box, then we can center it again by writing some code. We can center the red box, then center the element inside the red box. The red box is the border. So if I want to center the red box, I'll just come here. I'll just come here. So after giving it a width of 70%, then I can say margin. I need the margin to be auto. I can just come here. If I don't want any problem, I can say margin auto. Yeah, there's some measurements or some properties that we can use auto, meaning we want it to auto center or we want it to do something using the auto property. So I'll save, and if I come back here and do that, then you can see it has centered. Auto can only work if you defined the width. If you defined the width, then you say auto, then it's able to uh, center that element. So you can see it has centered our red box. So I want also to center this. I also want to center this text. So if I want to center this text, then I'll come here. The text I want to center is this. Their container is this. Yes. So there are other attributes. I didn't have a semicolon, and note that you should not forget a semicolon. So I can come here and say align. So if I have a line, you can see suggestions, align, baseline. These some are self-explanatory, and you can easily understand them. Align self, align items, align content, align text, align meaning it will be aligning text. Vertical align, it will align vertical text. Text align last. So I'll just come and say align content center, and I give it center. Align content center, and I expect it to align the contents that's inside the box centrally. Or I can say align text, align text align center, text align center, and I do that. So you can see text align center works because these are texts. So that's how we align texts in the center. Let me say that my red box, I want to move it far. I don't want it to be from the top. I want it to be somewhere here. What should I do? If I want to move this red box, I said what I need is to have a very big space on top of the red box. And I said the space outside the red box is called a margin. So I'll come here and define the margin on top. So yes, I had come here and defined margin as auto. I can also be specific. This was general. I can be specific and say margin top, then I give the margin top to be 25 pixels and do that, have a semicolon at the end. Margin top at 25 pixel. So if I come here and refresh, then you can see a space left on top. Yes, so you can push it. If you see 25 pixel is small, you can come here and maybe add it to 50. Let me say 100 pixel. Margin top 100 pixel. And when I come here and refresh, then you can see how 100 pixel is like. So that is CSS, and we have just started, and CSS is very interesting. CSS is very interesting. You can play around with elements. You can give them whatever you want. Let me say I just want to change this font color. I don't know. We've already changed the color to white. I just want to change this font size and font itself. Yes. So if I want to change the font, I come here and say, I'll just come here and say font. You can see if I write font, it gives me those options. I can say font size, and font size, let me say I want it to be 14 pixel. Yes, and have a semicolon. Don't forget a semicolon, please. Uh, and when I come here and refresh, then you can see 14 pixel is a bit smaller. So I can come and say 24 pixel, which is almost twice what we had. So font pixel 20, font 24 pixel. If I refresh, then that's the font 24 pixel. I can change the font style, and I just come here and say after the semicolon that font style, yes, I say Arial, yes, that's specific. Yeah, I can say font style Arial. If you do use Office Word, then you are much conversant with what Arial font style is. And just to be specific, we normally call it, I'm forgetting the name, we normally call it, the font we have currently is Times New Roman. Yes, we normally call it the sans serif. So font style, we have sans serif. Yeah, font style, we have sans serif. So uh, I'll not go into the serif and the sans serif font styles. Sorry about that. So the serif and the sans serif. So if we give that, we are not specific. Let me see what serif gives me. Let me see what serif gives me. Okay, so let me be specific. So I say sans serif Arial. I'm forgetting how it's being normally done. I think, yes, let me try that. I'm forgetting a bit on how it's normally done. Yes, if I'll get it, then I'll be back. Now, another thing we can work with under the style is we have a lot of properties. We have a lot of properties, and margin, border, width, and we have padding. There are so many that we can define, properties that we can define under the style. So why should we use inline styling? Yet it is not recommended. Okay, there's a time you can use inline styling if that's the only option you have. If that's the only option you have. I did say that we have something we normally call priority. When we connect a style sheet, yes, so when we come here and connect a style sheet like this, then you'll find that as the page loads, it will load the style sheet, and the content of the page will be styled using these style sheets. So if you want to override this linked style sheet or this connected style sheet, then we normally use inline styling. So inline styling is to override the style sheet. So maybe with the style sheet, it came with a font size of 24 pixel, of let's say 10 pixel, but you needed some bigger fonts. Then you will override that with this inline styling. Overriding means that you want these styles, you want to overwrite. It's like you're overwriting, or you want to overpower these style sheet. So that's how we normally apply the inline styling. But you can't build your project and have all of it styled in using this inline styling. That's not recommended. So even this you can see here is too much for inline styling. You normally have very short and brief codes. So you can only have, maybe you only wanted to change the font, only wanted to modify the margin, or have a border, yes, or define a width, but you can't style, or it's not you can, but it's not recommended styling a whole HTML work with inline styling using the style attributes. So you can only use it if you've written your style sheet and you want to overwrite, or you want to override it. Yes, or you want to override some properties that you did style from the style sheet. So that's how we normally apply inline styling. And the order of priority is that if you have a style sheet that you are pulling from the some source in the internet, maybe you went to my CDN, that's cdn.omanyang.com, and you pulled some styles from that site, or you extracted, or you pulled some style sheets from Bootstrap CDN, which is cdn.bootstrap.com, and you have this that you have in the directory folder, in the root directory folder, and you have this inline styling that you've installed in that document. The order of priority will be this inline styling will override the style sheet, but the style sheet you have inside your project directory will override that style sheet that you are pulling from the internet, or you are pulling from the internet source. So the priority goes that if you have an style sheet that you pull from internet source, yes, it will style your project, or it will style your work. And if you introduce also a style sheet which is based from the directory, or from the root directory of your project, then this will overpower the online, or the one you are pulling from the net. And if you have inline styling, which is this, then this will overwrite, or it will overpower this. So that's how we normally, that's the order of priority. But choose to use one, either pull it from the internet or write your own style, but you can use both provided you know how to use all of them. But whatever I've said is that inline styling is not recommended for all, or is not recommended for styling all your HTML project. So in the next tutorial, which is which will be and a continuation of CSS, and that will be pure CSS, and it will be very interesting. You've seen how CSS is very interesting, and it's more interesting than what we've done, where you can play around with texts, you can play around with boxes, you can create animations, yes, and basically we'll have it in the next session, where we will have purely CSS. And if you're connecting a CSS, this is how you connect a CSS using the link tag. The link tag is a single tag, hence it doesn't have a closing tag. So you can only have, you can do that, or you can have it like that. All is recommended for HTML5. So in the next tutorial, let's meet, and we'll discuss more on CSS, where now you will be able to build some tangible projects. Unless remember to, if unless you have a question, remember to post in the comments. If there is any aspect of HTML that you feel that I didn't touch on, then you can comment, or you can contact me directly. If you need any clarification about my HTML crash course, then you can reach out so that you can be assisted. And at as up to this point, I will say that I've completed the HTML crash course for beginners. Unless you have any question, remember to share these tutorials with your coding forums or your programming forums. Remember to share at least to assist somebody who is also a beginner. Share, subscribe, like, and you can comment if you have an issue or you need some clarification. Thank you for watching. Until next time, Engineer Umanyang.